There we go. My name is Reynolds, and I'm an agency owner here with Symmetry Financial, direct to the one, the only, the remarkable Mr. Christopher Cook. And so I have been here with Symmetry since March of 2018. Started with Symmetry in March, like some of you guys, many of you guys. I had no idea that I would be any good in the insurance industry. I had not planned on being in the insurance industry, but I did accidentally apply on ZipRecruiter. And so I had applied. I didn't really realize what I was applying for necessarily. And I applied, and I got a phone call from Chris Cook in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I'll tell you what, talked with him, didn't really know anything about the industry. I didn't know if I was going to be any good, but what I did know was that these were really good people, and good people do good things generally. And so I like to surround myself with good people. And so quit my job, jumped into it head first, had a pretty good job, was a creative director for a global media company, and was just sick and tired of working for somebody else. And so quit my job and jumped into this thing full force, and because I wanted to build a business here. And so started building a business from day one. Became an agency owner in December of 2018. So 10 months later, signed my agency ownership contract, and I'm still an agency owner here with the company, and super proud and happy to be so. And so that's a little bit about me. I live out here in Virginia Beach, Virginia area. If you've ever been out here, super cool. But what we're going to do today, we're going to go through a lot of material. Okay, so strap in. Step one is make sure you have something to write with, because we're going to go through a lot of good stuff that's going to really help you be poised and prepared for your first 90 days. Because I want to make sure that what we can do is help every single one of you achieve what it is that you're looking for, lay out the path that you need to take, and then it's going to be up to you. Then it's up to you on whether or not you run down that path. But we're going to do our very best today to lay out the path of what you need to do to be successful here at Symmetry, to help your first 90 days really get started well and have a really good first year here with the company. Then, now, the knowledge will be yours and you can use it. So what we're going to do, we're going to run through quite a few different things from your first 90 days, expectations, why people fail. We're going to talk about on the phones. We're going to talk about leads, investing in leads. We're going to talk about the in-home presentation. We're going to talk about building a business if you want to build a business here, which is really who we are. Just talk a little bit about that. Then I'm going to open it up for questions and answer at the end. And so take notes as you go through of the things that we talk about, as well as take notes of things that you have questions on. That way you can ask me those at the end. And so strap in, because we're going to hang out and go on this journey together for the next 45 minutes or so, and then open it up to questions. So let me share my screen, and we're going to get this party started. Boom. All right. So welcome to the new agent call for the Chris Cook master hierarchy here. So when you get started, your first 90 days is going to be the hardest, right? It's going to be the hardest for a couple reasons. And so prepare yourself, know this, that this is going to be the hardest, right? Your first 90 days, it's a party. Why is that? It's because there's a learning curve. Even if you've been in the industry before, there's a certain way that we do business. There's a way that we work with families. There's a process that we have, and you're learning an entirely different culture. You're learning an entirely different way of doing business, learning how to invest in leads, learning how to call and make phone calls. I didn't get good on the phones until a year after I first started. Okay, it took me a long time to really get good on the phones. And so you have a learning curve that you're going to start in. And now here's the deal, is your learning curve is going to take you as long as you want it to. I've got some people who are still rocking, living in that learning curve 8 months later, okay? I have other people who come in and they hit that thing and they use that learning curve like a ramp, baby. And they go flying off. And that's awesome, shorter. The key is, at what speed do you hit the learning curve? Because any pothole can become a ramp if you have enough momentum. And so in your first 90 days, you're learning new things. You're generating momentum. Momentum is hard to create. It's easier to sustain. So you're building those things. You're creating the discipline that you need to be successful here in this process. So know that, be prepared for that. That way, you don't fall into the next category of people we're going to talk about. But I want to hit on this first, because your first 90 days, really your first 90 to 120 days here are going to be the hardest, but they can also be incredibly rewarding for you. And one of the things that's incredible about what we just rolled out is our best in class bonus program. And we talked a little bit about it on the Monday call, the Cook Master Hierarchy call. We talked about this piece right here, which is the new agent fast track bonus and carrier kickers. All right. We also have these other bonuses that you can continuously get. I get a producer bonus almost every month. I get a capital bonus from being an agency owner. And you can get those, but in your first 90 to 120 days, these bonuses can help you put an extra $12,500 into your bank account if you follow what we teach you in the new agent call today. I want to help set you up to be able to get an extra $12,500 and the Symmetry destination trip. Now, you're going to have to work. It's going to be hard. But this is why it's so important to determine at what speed do you want to hit it. At what speed do you want to jump into your first 90 days and jump into this thing? Are you going to jump into the deep end and go fight for it and fight for your family and fight for the dream that you have and why you're here in the first place? And in the process, get paid well, earn your raises, and get these bonuses, okay? So I'm not gonna go into super detail on what these bonuses are, but I will break it down this way. If in your first 90 days, or in your first 30 days, what you'll need to do is be able to write $20,000 in premium. All that is 5 applications a week, okay? I can sleep and write 5 applications a week. It's not hard. It's really not. If you sit with 20 families, anybody can write 5 applications in a week. If you had to sit with 25 families, you could write 5 applications in a week, okay? All that it is going to be how many people that you talk to. The key with that is you're going to get an extra $1,000 bonus right then and there if you can do that, okay? That's going to come straight to you from Symmetry Financial. Then as we move down, we also have the invitation to the Symmetry destination trip that's writing $60,000 in your first 90 days. What that means is you're developed consistency. You're doing 5 applications a week really for your first 90 days. And you're able to get the trip. Where this thing starts to get really crazy is the carrier kickers. So we have our 4 core carriers here. We've got Moo, Americo, Foresters, and American Amicable, okay? If you write $15,000 issue paid business with each of them in your first 90 days, which if you think about it and you actually just follow along the path, you'll hit this. But if you do that, each of those carriers, you get an extra $1,000 bonus from each one of those as you do it. And then if you complete 3 of the 4, it's called the hat trick bonus. You get an extra $5,000. And if you do all 4 of them, you get the Grand Slam as well, which is an extra $2,500. So what you end up getting is you get $1,000 in your first 30 days. Then over the next 90 days, as you complete the carrier ones, you get $1,000 for each of them. That totals out to $5,000. You do 3 of the 4, you get an extra $5,000. You do all 4, which you should be able to, give you an extra $7,500. Plus, you get the invitation to the Symmetry destination trip. That totals out an extra $12,500 in annualized premium volume, in addition to around $20,000, $20,000 plus in commissions and 2 raises. And that's what I want to show you how to do today. Okay. So this is why we're focused. This is what makes us different. Is there's nowhere else where you can get started with this level of ROI and this lucrative of a business I wish this was a thing when I started here. I'm so happy that this is for agents. Now, then as you keep going, we also have these bonus programs. Don't need to talk about those right now. So it's super cool, but a lot of people fail out of this business. A lot of people do. It's just the truth of the matter. It's the industry as a whole, okay? People fail out of this business. It's a hard industry. I think there's a couple reasons why people generally fail out of this business. The first thing is when you take improper expectations and you pair that with improper activity, that equals fail. And not the good fail here, guys, all right? I fail a ton every single week. This is not the good fail, right? This is the one where you are working yourself out of the business slowly but surely. And so what happens is we have improper expectations. Oh my. We have improper expectations where maybe you come in and you think that there's a result that you want, okay? And if we teach you the system, which is, what is it, 15 appointments and 20 interviews a week is going to get you the results that you need. It's going to poise you to be able to get those bonuses. The problem is if you come into this with the wrong expectation of thinking that you can do 20 dials and talk to 5 people and somehow write $10,000 in premium, that's an improper expectation. It's funny, but I know a lot of people who try it. And so you have the wrong expectation, which then what leads to what? The improper activity. Thus, you don't get the results that you want. And then you leave. And you never even gave yourself a shot on whether you could be successful, because how you're successful here is proper expectations plus proper activity equals success. I remember when I started here, we teach that the average agent needs to make 250, I would dare say it's closer to 300 now, 250 dials a week. What is a dial? It's every single time you pick up the phone and call a phone number of a lead. We triple dial 3 times back to back. Average agent makes 35 dials an hour. We'll get into those numbers a little bit more later. So that's roughly 8 to 10 hours on the phones for an average agent. And so I remember I heard this when I first got started here. And I said, okay, I know that I'm going to be at a deficit, and I know that there's going to be a learning curve. And so if the average agent makes 250 to 300 dials a week, what if I took all of that and did that, and they did that? What if I did what they would do in a month and a week? So my first week here, I made over 770 something dials. My first entire 8 weeks in this business, I made between 700 and 1,200 dials a week. I spent 28 hours on the phone. And so why? Because I had proper expectations. I knew that this was going to be hard. I knew I was going to have to put in a ton of work. I was willing to do that, which was the right activity, which creates the success. Because what are we doing? We're going to check these boxes. 15 appointments sat, which means you're going to need to book at least 20 generally. And then 20 interviews. And you do that, you're going to get the results. You're going to get those raises and bonuses and everything that we talked about. But you have to have the proper expectation. If you're a new person here and you're full-time with us and you work 40 hours a week at another job, I challenge you, you can go online and get a free timer. Clock in and clock out. Clock yourself in and out, just as you would if you were in another job. You get up to go to the bathroom, pay attention to how long you're gone, right? Because here's the deal, is nobody, when we all worked another job, nobody told your boss, hey, I have a goal of showing up at 11 a.m. when you're supposed to come in at 9 a.m. We didn't do that. You would not have a job anymore. And so it's the same thing here. You're now working for yourself. And so set those standards, work with your upline to create a schedule with the proper expectations. That way you have the track laid out for proper activity. Understand those expectations, and that way you know what you're going to do. Because here's the deal. is it's going to be mindset over skill set every single time. I have so many times I see people who think that they need to become product experts or really develop their skills to be successful here. I'll tell you what, for my first year, I wrote 3 products. I still practically only write 3 products. You could ask me about a product with some carrier. I have no idea, y'all. I don't know. Because what is my focus? My focus is to help a family keep it as simple as possible. And the skills will always come as long as you focus on the mindset. The people who are generally the people who are the most successful here are the people who are the most consistent and persistent. That has nothing to do with your skill on the phone. That has nothing to do with your skill in the home. If you consistently sit with 25 families and you are persistent every time you get a no, and you're consistently calling your upline, you're doing massive action, right? Constant correction, MAC. And you're doing that and you're following and you're consistent and persistent every single day. And you show up and put the time in every single day. Guess what's going to come? The skills will come. But you're going to outlast everybody else because the mindset's there. Mindset's there. And so what you have to focus on is don't focus on all the nitty gritty. That's what your upline's here for in your first 90 days of your learning curve, to help you with that. Focus on the massive action. Focus on talking to as many families as you can. Focus on developing the mindset and the mental fortitude that's required and the discipline to show up every single day at the same time, even when people tell you no for hours. Like if I was a new agent, I would not stop until I could consistently sit, and I did this, consistently sit for 10 hours on the phone styling in a row with scheduled bathroom breaks. I had scheduled bathroom breaks, right? How willing are you to really be consistent and persistent and focus on the mindset? Because the skill set will come. It'll come every single time, but the mindset is what sets people apart. So, speaking of mindset, I'm going to give you guys a secret. I'm going to let you know. There's 4 stages every agent goes through when they start here with us. There's 4 stages. Every agent goes through it, and you're going to continuously go through it the rest of your career here. So I'm going to help you out a whole lot, okay? Stage 1, it's the excitement phase. You're excited. You just got your license. You're fired up. You just got leads. Oh, it's going to be good. You got out there and you go on and you make your first dials, and then somebody cuts you out on the phone. And then you get hung up on. And then now you're sitting there doubting all the reasons why you're doing this. And then now you stop working. And the next thing you know, you only talk to 3 people on the phone all week long and made 20 dials. And the excitement part's going to wear off, okay? It's going to be prepared for that because it's going to lead you to the second phase, which is the frustration phase. You're going to be frustrated. Some of you may be frustrated right now. Cool. You're right in line. I think I go through this cycle like 5 times a week, okay? You're going to get frustrated. Know that it's coming. You're going to get frustrated. What you have to rely back on is consistent and persistent. Can you continue to be consistent and persistent even when you don't feel like it, even when you're frustrated? Because that is a super important discipline to create, because the next phase, which is phase 3, is the quitting phase. And this is a big phase. Everybody goes through it, and I'm going to tell you right now, congratulations, you're going to go through it. You may be in it. You're not alone. Everybody wanted to quit. I think I want to quit at least once a week, okay? Because this is hard work, but you're going to go through it. So good news is, now that you know it's coming, you can be prepared and not caught off guard when you want to quit. Because you're going to have one of 2 options. Either one, you're going to quit and you're going to tell your brain every time something gets hard that you run away. And this cycle also goes in little microcosms too. Like when you sit down and dial, you're excited when you first start, then you get frustrated after an hour and a half, then you want to quit, and then you decide to quit. And so your goal was to dial for 5 hours, but you only dialed for an hour and a half. So it happens on the small level. It also happens on the big level. of the whole thing. And you have a decision that you get to make. You're either going to quit, and that's what you're going to tell your brain, that this is what we do, right? Or you're going to decide not to quit. And that's going to lead you to phase 4, which is the resiliency phase. You become resilient. You keep moving forward. And every time now that you get to the quitting phase and frustrated phase, you move through it faster because this whole thing starts back over. You're resilient and you feel like you're on top of the world because you decided not to quit. And so you're excited, then you get frustrated, then you want to quit again, and then it's resilient. So everyone's going to go through this, okay? You all are. It's all a part of the process. So don't be scared. Don't be afraid. It is going to come. I promise. You're going to live. You're going to make it. You just have to decide. My iPad just froze. There we go. You just have to decide, what are you going to do? What are you willing to do? Now that we have mindset out of the way, okay, because that's the biggest thing. You got to get the mind right. If you can't get the mind right, it's not going to work. It's going to be a really frustrating ride for you because every time you want to quit, you will, and then you get to the end of the week and you don't write any applications because every single time you quit when it got hard. And so you got to get this right. Be prepared for this. Know this, and be willing to submit yourself to the system and the standards. Be willing to submit yourself to the system and the standards. I mean, give yourself 90 days. If you don't like it after 90 days, you can go back to what you were doing that you didn't like to come here to do anyway. So give yourself a fair shot, okay? So we've got mindset. So now we need to have some strategy in place. Because here's the deal. Businesses make you money. Hobbies cost you money. Businesses make you money. Hobbies cost you money. I don't know anybody that came to Symmetry to lose money. I don't know anybody that comes here to just have fun on conference calls all week long. I'm pretty sure you came here because you want to fight for something for you, for your family. You have a dream, something that you want to do, something, an impact that you want to make. And you can by using this vehicle correctly and running it like a business. The first piece that is the biggest piece of running this like a business is your number one overhead. Number one, it's your lead investment. It's your lead investment, okay? And I use that word specifically, lead investment, because an investment makes you money. This is not a lead cost. I challenge you not to use the phrase lead cost. I would tell you to, lead investment, because it's an investment that's going to make you money. It is your insurance business's marketing. It's as if you hired a marketing assistant to go find people who want this coverage without you actually having to go learn how to do it yourself. And so that's what this does. Now, in order to get a return on our investment, we have to treat it like an investment. The first thing that you have to remember, consistent and persistent, it's the same thing here. Your lead investment needs to be like a line item on the budget. It is something that has to be created, and you stick to it for at least 6 weeks. Because if you decide I'm going to spend $300, like you're fired up, I'm going to spend $300 in leads a week. It's going to be great. I'm going to write $10,000 in premium. I'm going to make $6,000. It's going to be awesome. And then you go out there and you get your teeth kicked in week 1. So then you go into week 2 and you're like, I think I'm only going to do like $100 this week, So then you do 100, but except now you have less families to talk to than the week before. And so then you go into week 3 and you're like freaking out. So then you go buy $500 worth of leads, because now you're 2 weeks where you haven't gotten paid. But now you shot yourself in the foot because you spent more money than you planned to for your leads. And then next thing you know, you're frustrated and broke, okay? It has to be something that you and your upline determine together and reverse engineer, using the metrics I'm going to show you, reverse engineer the type of income that you want to make. And then put the activity with that. And so it needs to be a line item on the budget. It has to be a constant. You have to have the same consistent flow of resources every single week in order to have a same consistent flow of results. Consistent resources equal consistent results. So let's talk about the lead. What is this? What is the lead program? Every new agent starts out in the bonus lead program. It's where I started. In fact, my entire agency didn't start taking A leads this year until the beginning of May, end of April. And so they're great. We still take more bonus leads than A leads in my agency across the board every single week. And so what is this? So they're 4A, 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A, 50 cent, and 25 cent. I'm going to give you these numbers, and these are super important. These are what you live by. You need to memorize these, know these by heart, okay? 5A, 20, 4A, 40, 3A, 60, 2A, 80, 1A, 100, 50 cent, 120, 25 cent, 140. What does that mean? That's how many leads it takes to book 8 to 9 appointments to garner you 2 to 4 applications. It's right there. So you need 20 of the 5A leads, which costs $8, and they go down from $8 obviously to 25 cents. So you need $160 of the 5A leads to generate you 2 to 4 applications. The average application, you're going to make $525 on average per application. As a result of that, you're looking between about $1,050 to $2,100. So $160 lead investment is going to get you between $1,050 to $2,100 in return. And so you look at this, and there's something important here. The price goes down. As you go down, the price goes down, but the time commitment goes up because you're going to need more leads. You're going to have to spend more time on the phones if you grab 240. If you're a full-time agent, this is bare minimum. You got to double this. If you're a full-time agent and you want to write 6 to 8 applications in a week, you're looking at $258, $280, $300, $350 a week in lead investment. I spend $600 a week, okay? Because that's the results that I want. And so, but when you look at this, it's super important that you know 20 leads is going to take me less time to get through and to resolve than 120 leads. For $60, I can get 120 and get the same result as opposed to $160. But I'm going to have to spend like 8 times as much time on the phone, right? We're talking about 30 plus hours on the phones if you're taking 100, 120 leads. You're looking at 8 to 10 hours if you take 20. So 8 hours minimum, if you take 20 leads, it's going to take 8 hours minimum to resolve all those. So then just keep adding. 16 hours. What's that? 24, 22 hours. Add it again, 30 hours. I mean, you've got, as you go down, your time investment commitment is going to go up because you got more people to go through. And that's the important thing, is resolve. If you take 120 leads, you're not magically going to get 2 to 4 applications in your pocket. You have to resolve at least 85% of them. You need to shoot for 95, 100%. Meaning that if you take 20 leads, you need to resolve 18, 19 of them. That means you're getting a yes or a no on the phone and in an appointment. A no-show is not a resolve because they never gave you an answer. And so you need to be able to resolve those leads. So I want to put this in a picture for you. Let's say you took 10 leads. I see this happen all the time. You take 10 leads, let's say, for this example. Start calling your 10 leads. Talk to one person, he tells you no. Cool. Talk to another person, he tells you no. 2, you're still rolling. Then you book 3 appointments. And in those, so then you stop because you're like, holy shoot, I got 3 appointments. I need to go study everything and get ready for my 3 appointments. This is going to be awesome. And then the first appointment no shows you. The second appointment tells you no. And the third appointment, it's going to be a toss-up. At that point, you have less than a 30% chance of writing an application. And so you've kind of shot yourself in the foot. Now it's Wednesday and you're sitting there like, okay, crap, now I got to jump back on the phones, because all you did was actually resolve 5 leads, which meant that you only gave yourself a chance to get an ROI on 50% of your investment. That is not a good business model. So what does that mean? If you need to do 85 to 95, that means you need to get a yes or no out to 8 to 9 of the 10 leads that you got. So what you need to do if you want to run this thing like a business, depending on how many leads that you take, find out what 90% is. And do not stop until you've resolved all 90% of those leads, 100% if you can, no matter how many days it takes you, right? And so, because you want to be able to get a resolve. And so if you marry yourself to the system, remember what we said, submit yourself to the standard in the system. You want to fill the 2 boxes, 15 appointments, 20 interviews. It starts with resolve. It starts with planning and having the right schedule in place based off of how many leads you take to know exactly how many hours you have to dial. I know how many hours I have to dial every single week to get the same results. If you don't know how many hours it's going to take you to dial, you already are working from behind the 8 ball, because you don't know how much you're going to need to invest in something. Because the 2 main things you invest in this business are your time and your money. And if you don't know how much time you need to invest, how are you supposed to get a return on investment? It's the difference between lead measures and lag measures. Because lead measures, lag measures. Lag measures are when we get to the end of the week and we try to reverse engineer what went wrong, and then try to make an adjustment for the next week. That's a lag measure. A lead measure is when we have prepared and know exactly what needs to be done that week to get the result. It's the process. That's the difference between a lead measure and a lag measure. A lag measure is you get to the end of the week and you're like, man, I only ran 4 appointments. I wrote maybe 1 application. Okay, well, I guess I need to dial more this week. You're behind the 8 ball, trying to reverse engineer and fix something that's broken. A lead measure says, okay, based on the amount of leads, I know that I'm spending 15 hours on the phones. And these are the hours that I'm doing it. I know that I'm going to need to spend another 15 hours running appointments. And these are the hours that I'm doing it. I know that I'm going to need 1.5 hours to 2 hours max to prep for my appointments. And I have 3 hours of conference calls each week. That's what a lead measure looks like. Because now this is the process that's going to get you to the results. Because you know how many hours you need to spend on the phone, how many hours you're going to do this. And if you consistently do those things every single week, you're going to consistently get the same results. Because you're following lead measures as opposed to lag measures. Lag measures, you're always working from behind and you're always trying to catch up. That's the difference. So that's pretty much the difference between running a business versus running a hobby. The other thing I'll say here is recruiting and production, and we're going to talk about recruiting in a second. Recruiting and production are 2 different full-time jobs. Don't try to make it one. They're 2 different full-time jobs. If you want to recruit and build a business, recruiting is a full-time job, production is a full-time job. You're working 2 full-time jobs, and that's okay. We're going to touch on that in a second. So let's talk about the phones. All right. So we've talked about mindset, skill set. We've talked about how to run this thing like a business, good lead measures, get your ROI, make sure it's lead measures, not lag measures. Make sure that you have hours and plan and a strategy. You have a process put in place, and you need to sit down. If you do not have one, you need to sit down and work with your agency owner, key leader, your growing upline, Chris Cook. If your upline is not constantly putting numbers on leaderboards, call the person who is, right? If that's Chris Cook, call Chris Cook. Make sure you're somebody that's getting results to help you develop the lead and lag measures that you need to be successful. So it all starts on the phones, because when we start this relationship, it all begins on the phone. We know this, we learned it. Why do people buy? Because they like us and they trust us. That's when they buy. And that all starts on the phones. It starts when you pick up the phone and you say hello. That's why we teach you with the script that you need to go what? Low and slow in the script, okay? You go low and slow. Why? Because I'm not a telemarketer. I give you my first name and my last name because I'm not a telemarketer. Because in the first 10 seconds is the most important part. They're going to determine whether or not they want to work for you within the first 10 seconds of the phone call. And so what you need, it's how do you develop that relationship from the very beginning? That's why we talk about it all the time. Are you low? Is your tone low? Are you speaking slow enough for people to be able to hear you? If you're doing that, that's going to help you be able to be successful because you're going to begin to build the rapport from day one. From the moment you have that first encounter, remember, it's a first impression. You're coming in as the licensed professional on the phones to help the person who requested your assistance. That's what's happening on the phone. And so you begin that posture from when the first time you say, hello, John. Okay. Now, when you're on the phones, there's a couple things that you need to do to continue to run it like a business. You need to track these numbers. Remember our resolve ratio. You need to have your resolve number and your total leads so you know where you're at. You also need to track your dials, contacts, and appointments. You track your dials, contacts, and appointments. Because these numbers tell a story. What you measure, you can manage. I know the average agent makes 35 dials an hour without the power dialer. That means you can pick up the phone and call a number 35 times in an hour. We also know that you need to do a minimum of 250 to 300 dials. I would dare say, and I coach people, if you're full-time here and you're in your first 90 days, you need to do 500 dials a week. I still sometimes do 500 dials a week. And so if we know this, then we need to be able to remember our lead and lag measures. We need to be able to track and make sure that we're on pace. And so either one, you're going to be able to know that you're not making enough dials. Two, you might find out that your contacts to appointments ratio may be off because what you measure, you can manage. And that's where now you're going to be able to have coaching. Remember what we said, massive action, constant correction. And now when you call your upline after every 5 contacts, you can ask them a question and give them these numbers. Do not call your upline with questions if you don't have those numbers. Because we're at that point, it's just hypothesizing. We don't actually know what's going on. And so the only way to help you, instead of doing a full body autopsy, is to make sure that we have these numbers right here. Because here's the thing. You may be doing better than you think you are, depending on your lead class, okay? With 5A leads, you're gonna book 1 out of every 4 to 5 contacts. 4A leads, you're gonna book 1 out of every 6 to 7. 3A leads, 1 out of every 7 to 8. 2A leads, 8 to 9. 1A leads, 9 to 10. 50-cent leads, 1 out of every 10 to 12. And 25-cent leads, 12 to 16. So that's super important because you may be beating yourself up, living in the pit of despair of frustration and wanting to quit because you're booking 1 appointment out of every 8. And what you don't realize is you're working 1A leads and you're actually above the company average. I've had that happen to me. But I wouldn't know that if I didn't track these numbers. What that then teaches us is you need to spend more times on the phone. Maybe you need to increase your dial speed, right? Remember, skill set, it's the mindset piece that matters. If you go out there and make $500 in a week, I haven't seen anybody fail making at least $500 in a week sitting with 15 families. I haven't. The skills will come with that. The focus when you first start has to be how many people can you talk to as fast as you can talk to them, because that's what's going to develop the skill set. And so we could go into all of the things of a phone script and how to tweak this and how to do this and role play it, but that's not going to do anything until you've talked to at least 100 people on the phone. I talked to over 75 people on my phone the first week I was here. So that doesn't matter until you're talking to a lot of people. And by a lot of people, I mean you're looking at least 30, 50, maybe 75 people in a week on the phones, depending on the lead class. So that's an important piece here, is making sure that you have these processes in place, because you're starting the relationship and you're coming in building that like and trust with the client. Which leads us to the script, which is super important. The script is going to take you from point A, which is hello, to point B, which is an appointment. So you're asking, how do we do this? Well, the script is how we do this. It's going to take you from hello to a booked appointment. What happens is people start to get squirrely on the phones, okay? I can't tell you how many times I went and did a role-playing coaching session with one of my agents. I'm like, the hell are you using? That is not the script. And they're like, really? I said, yeah, really? Look at it. And then they're like, oh, because you start to get uncomfortable. Instead of submitting yourself to the system, you start to create your own system and start like tweaking it. Don't tweak it. Don't do it. Don't. Stick to it, because this is the script that works. 2.5 years later, maybe think about tweaking it, but I still don't tweak it. Because they built a $122 million company with the script, okay? If they can do that, I'm pretty sure I'll be okay. And so when you get objections, these are the biggest points. People get squirrely on the phones. You start moving things around. Listen, you need to picture it, point A to point B. That is your script. It is your guide. It is your Sherpa to a booked appointment. When you get an objection, because you will, I get objections every day, okay? You're going to get them. When you get it, hey, John, that's exactly why I'm calling. I've got your date of birth as blah, blah, blah. And you just get right back on the script. Because what happens is you can start and somebody give you an objection. Some of y'all's phone calls probably look like this. Start talking, and then it goes like, woo, and then woo, and then you finally get them back on. And then you get something else, and it's like, woo, and then you're surprised why you didn't book an appointment. Because it went off into no man's land. All right, the faster you can get, and there's an objections sheet on the Symmetry website. The faster you can have an objection and jump right back into where you were on the script, the better. You do it with confidence, you'll be surprised at how people are going to roll with you. I had a lady tell me no, that she didn't fill out the form 4 different times. I still booked the appointment and wrote the application. Why? Because I was like, okay, that's fine. This is the simple process. Address, pivot, script. I don't know how to spell script, apparently. Script. Address, pivot, script. How do you address it? That's their first name. That's exactly why I'm calling. Hey, we paid off the mortgage. Well, John, that's exactly why I'm calling. Right? No matter what. I'm not interested. Well, that's exactly why I'm calling. I didn't fill that out. Well, that's exactly why I'm calling, right? You actually address it, but not in a way that you can go sidetracked. And then you don't stop. This is where the pivot happens. And this is where the objections sheet is going to help you a ton. This is where the pivot happens, right? John, that's exact. So if somebody told me that they're not interested, it goes exactly like this. John, that's exactly the reason why I'm giving you a call. I've got the form that you filled out on my desk right now. And I was just looking at that, wanted to make sure I can send this over to you. I've got your date of birth is blah, 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 right? I pivoted and then went straight back in. I addressed it and went right back in. And chances are they're going to roll with you in the process, okay? Like, don't get caught up there and then you go immediately back into the script. That's going to help you do this. And you do it nice and with confidence, they're going to love you, all right? One of the best people who does this the best is Elijah Carujo. If you ever want to listen to somebody overcome objections, he's a master at overcoming objections. Anytime he posts a Zoom and watch it. Like, you get to the end of it and you don't realize that he's like Like if you're the client, you don't realize that you tried to like not book the appointment 20 different times. And he's just super nice and sweet and just gets it right on going and then writes the application on you, your mom, and your sister. So it's incredible. Make sure you do that. So this is what the script does. It's going to get you exactly where you need to go, how you need to get there. It's going to help you avoid problems if you stick to the script. You're going to have more problems if you don't. What are, let's see, what are some potholes? Stopping too early. Don't stop if you've booked 3 appointments. Keep dialing. It should only take you 15 minutes tops to come up with options. I come up with options for an entire day of 8 appointments in 15 minutes. This is not hard, okay? Reason is because I write 3 products. It's that simple. Based off your age and some basic health, it's gonna be one of 2. It's gonna be one of 2 products. And then the third, guaranteed issue. I keep it that simple. And the thing is, you have your upline. And so you and your upline can jump on the phone in 15 minutes and can tell you exactly, your key leader agency owner can tell you exactly what product in a matter of seconds based off of their information. And so don't focus on that when you're first starting. Focus on booking 20 appointments in a week. If you have 20 appointments in a week, you can't fail. All right, in 30 minutes tops, your key leader agency owner can literally explain to you, this is why we're picking this product. We're picking it for these reasons, and these reasons. This is what it needs to be. And then you can go run a quote. And then the options are super easy. And I'm gonna break that down for you in a second. Right, so it's stopping too early. The other one is like stopping too early on the phones. So not just in dialing, but stopping too early when you're actually talking to somebody. Like somebody's like, yeah, I'm not interested. Okay, I'm sorry, click. Don't do that. Like keep going. Somebody hangs up on you, call them right back. I still get confused when people hang up on me because I know and I believe they filled out this form requesting my help. And so I will call you back. And you hung up on me, I'll call you back 2 days later because you may have just been in a bad mood. I don't know. Because I'm persistent, right? So it's making sure you don't do that. Another big thing is not starting at all. The phones can be heavy. Just get over it. Make it fun. All right. This doesn't need to be that big of a deal. You're just picking up the phone, calling people who ask for help. So what? What's the worst thing that happens to you? They jump through the phone and hit you in the face. They can't do that. Worst thing that happens to you is they yell at you and hang up. It doesn't mean anything. Just laugh and move on. Okay. So don't let it stop you. Just keep on rocking and rolling. So let's go to in the home. So the presentation, I've got the presentation actually here, and I'm actually going to walk you through my entire presentation here. Just not a presentation because we actually have a recording of that I can send you. But pretty much first thing, tips on in the home, you're going to want to book it 24 to 48 hours out. Don't book it any longer than that. You're going to want to send them an email confirmation. If you use the power dialer, it's going to do it for you automatically, but you're going to want to do that. It's going to help with your show ratio. And you're going to want to go with Zoom. You're literally shooting yourself in the foot if you don't go with Zoom. If you're trying to do phone appointments, it takes a ton of skill and like it's a whole thing. It's a lot to do a phone appointment really well. It's a lot. It's a whole lot. So if you're in your first 90 days, go with Zoom because it's the closest thing. I don't even give my clients an option. The only reason I'm not doing a Zoom appointment is if they like don't have a computer or Wi-Fi or a smartphone. And even then I'll go with if you have a smartphone, I'll go with FaceTime because I want to see you. I want to be able to read your body language. I want you to be able to read my body language. I want to be able to show you this presentation. So I don't even give them an option. When I book the appointment, I simply go like this. Hey, Robert, typically we do this in person, but actually we're doing this completely over Zoom now. That way you can see me. Make sure you're talking to the right person. I can see you. Make sure I'm talking to the right person. It's super simple. I shoot you an email with the link. You click on it. If you have any issues, I'm also part-time tech support. So I can give you a call and walk you through any issues there. But it's super simple. And then what we'll do is we'll just go over the information, answer any questions, and then when we find the right fit, we'll go ahead and fill out that application, get it into the carrier, okay? And that's how I do it. I don't even give them an option. I don't, because my show ratio or my close ratio is just trash if I'm on the phones. And so I do what works. So go with Zoom and make sure that you're prepared and you're ready to go. So here's the presentation. You can get this online on the Symmetry website. Highly suggest customizing it. Super simple through a picture of my license on there. You can download a PDF of your license, through a picture of my license, through a picture of my state ID, my name, just grab a picture of myself. That way I threw it, because really what I'm doing is I'm just wanting to make sure beyond any shadow of a doubt that they feel comfortable. I also have this little name badge that hangs around my neck. And so pretty much you're seeing me like this and you're like, okay, either one, I'm the greatest con artist in the world and this is the longest con ever and I'm really committed to like do all of this. Or you already kind of build that relationship and rapport there with them, because it just kind of verifies everything. So then really I keep it super simple. I give my role and purpose here. I explain exactly what we're going to do. We're going to talk about mortgage protection. If there's anything else here that's interesting to you, go ahead and make a note of it. I'll make sure to book another appointment with you after we get the mortgage protection taken care of. Key there, assumptive language. I'm always one step ahead of the client in running an appointment. I'm always using assumptive language. And so I go into it assuming, because it's the real system, right? Rapport, emotion, assumption, and lock it down, the real system. So you're going to go in the first 10 to 15 minutes, you're going to build rapport. And then we're going to talk about emotion in just a second. But assumption works its way through the whole thing. You use assumptive language all the way through the process. So that way you can lock it down and write the application. Then you go in here, you verify the infos, everything that you already got on the phone, verify that, make sure it's correct. I always like to say, I just want to verify this, make sure I'm serving your family the best way possible. Super simple. And then this is where we get to the E. This is the emotion. Why? You just ask them these 3 questions. Keep it simple. I share my screen, just walk through this little presentation. Ask them these 3 questions. Right? Dig into it. Don't just take a surface answer. Dig into it. And then move on. And then explain how mortgage protection works. And I'm going to help you guys I'm going to help you so much. Are you ready? Here are your 3 options. Here they are. You don't have to figure out what options. Here they are. If they can qualify for a full or half mortgage payoff, option 1 is a full mortgage payoff. Option 2 is a half mortgage payoff. Option 3, which I actually edited this on mine, it's called monthly mortgage payment protection. Feel free to do with it as you wish. I had a client suggest that to me, so I went with it. And I walk through and explain each of these. If you can qualify for this, then option 1 is going to be full mortgage, option 2 is going to be half, and option 3 is going to be like a 36-month mortgage payment protection plan. Okay. And all that is you taking the mortgage payment times a certain amount of months equals your face amount. Super simple. If I can do all 3 options with term, I will. If they don't qualify for term, then I'll make generally either 36, 24, or 12-month options using a whole life and just doing option 3. It'll be 36, 24, or 12. It'll be 24, 18 or 12, or it'll be 12, 9, and 6 month options. All of that is just going to be dependent upon their monthly payment on their mortgage and the cap on face amount for the coverage, right? So if they've got a $4,800 mortgage, I'm going to have to go down here because most whole life caps out at 25, 30, or 40,000 in face amount. And so there you go. Just made it super simple for you. Option 1, if they can do term, it's going to be full mortgage payoff, half mortgage payoff, or 36-month mortgage payment protection plan. Or if they can't, you got to go whole life. It's either going to be 36, 24, or 12, 24, 18, to 12, or 12, 9, and 6. It's that simple. And then I talk about how, cool guys, we want to make sure that if you die, we're going to cover it. We also want to make sure if you're still alive that you can keep your home and not lose it. And then we can talk about that if you want to. I just reiterate and go back to the why. Getting you the protection that you need, fit in the budget. I always make sure to tell them, listen, it's got to do two things and find the middle of the road. It's got to fit the need, but it's also got to fit the budget. Because if it doesn't help you, then it's not worth it. If it's too expensive, also not worth it. So we need to find the middle ground. And then from there, I just show them the options. And there you go. Just break down the options. These are a little funny, but I'll show them option one, and I'm going to bring it back to their why. I'm going to explain in each option how that helps them achieve their why. Remember, you're not just slapping on insurance, okay? You're helping them with a need. So bring the answer back to the need and explain how each of those options fills the need. Also, stop and ask questions. Ask them if they understand. Before I ever get to this, like after I've gone through these and explained how we do mortgage protection, I stop and ask them if they have any questions. Because a lot of times they don't understand something. And I've lost sales because they just didn't understand. And so then I stop and let them ask questions before we get into the money. There you go. You want some more help on how to do the phones? Call your rep. Objections. You're going to be able to get through most of your objections at the beginning if you set up your rule and purpose well. And really, the focus is just get a yes or no. You're just sorting to see if you can help them. You go into it with a focus on making an impact and helping, then you're going to come out really, really ahead. Potholes of the phones, potholes of the home, not running enough. That's huge. Not addressing their why. Not adequately showing them how these solutions and options actually fill the reason why they look for this coverage. Also, another pothole of the home is not spending adequate enough time doing rapport. We have to spend more rapport building time now because we're not face-to-face. Also, not using Zoom. I don't know anybody that is an agent in their first 90 days who's being really successful across the board from issue paid, from not just submitted, but issue paid business, over $20,000 a month that's doing it just over the phones. That's also not getting canceled within the first 90 days. So like this works, helps. So what makes us different? Recruiting, agency ownership. This is what it's about, guys. Because I can go out there and do this, right? A limited amount of time every week. But you know what I can do? I can bring on a bunch of really great people who can actually double, triple, and quadruple. I've only written one application this week, but my organization's already done, at the end, they've done more than it now. I'm not up to date, but at the end of yesterday, they did over $11,000 in annual premium on pure mortgage protection. I sat with 4 families. I wrote like one application. It was a baby app. And the beautiful thing of that is the carrier is going to pay me passive income because I increased their distribution. And they're going to pay me the difference between my commission level and their commission levels, just 15%, which then from a business standpoint, to show you how this works from a business standpoint, that's going to cover my expenses. And then this is going to come in and be profit, right? So for me, I have an office manager. I have like $3,000 in recruiting a month in expenses. I also have another part-time assistant person. And I have lead costs. And these are my expenses, right? My agency comes in and helps alleviate some of those expenses for me to be able to run this ship and build it fast, to go big and fast, right? And help more people, because that's what it's about. It's helping people. I mean, I remember a time when I used to make $3,900 a month. I make more than that in passive income now, you know? So it's like, it's all about putting things in perspective of why you want to do what you want to do. You can be a producer here, you can, but that's not who we are. We're builders. We're here to build a business. Even if it's just 1, 2, 3 other people with you that you can help change their life. It's worth it. So I'm gonna break this down for you super simple. You can do it warm market. I hired 10 people and got 10 people into licensing my first 2 weeks I was here before I ever had a license issued. Warm market, find people who are interested in doing this business that you think can be good. Cold market. Warm market's gonna be faster. You already have trust built. You're gonna have to build a relationship with cold market. If you wanna be an agency owner in 6 to 10 months, I'm gonna tell you exactly how to do it. $1,000 a month in recruiting. That's where it starts. If you want to be an agency owner in the next 6 to 10 months, that's where it starts. Give you a perfect example. Elijah Carujo, 2 months ago, started spending a little over $1,000 in recruiting. He's in his 3rd month. He's going to hit his first. Now, he had a little bit of a lead up time because he had like 1 or 2 other agents. But he's onboarding a ton of agents now that he wasn't prior. And Elijah is going to hit within that 6 month period of time, 6 to 10 month period of time of when he started doing $1,000 a month in ZipRecruiter ads. That does not include a recruiter. Okay. That's $1,000 in ads, not in a recruiter. That's extra. Within a 6 to 10 month period of time of starting that, he's going to hit agency ownership. That's what I did. That's how I became an agency owner. In 10 months, I just followed the system. I did 15 appointments. What? 15 appointments comes in, it creates the capital that I need. Then 20 interviews a week to be able to do this, to build a business. And that's the special thing about what we can do. And then this comes around and helps to feed this and cover your overhead costs from a passive system income. And then now it's a nice, beautiful cycle just like this. And then it begins to feed each other. And then before you know it, you look down and realize you've got some incredible people doing incredible things. So, no, we went a couple minutes over. I still want to make sure I can answer questions for some people's. If I can help you. Now, here's the thing with recruiting, and I'll say this. Something's better than nothing. So if you're not ready to jump and do that, right? Something's better than nothing. So get with your key leader, get with your agency owner and talk about what you can do. And so if you want to do this thing on a real scale and a level, commit for a year to do $1,000 a month. I increase my recruiting budget every 90 days. And so, if you want to do it on that level, that's what it looks like. But you can start wherever you are or go out there and kill it with warm market. The best is when you do a mixture of both. So I'm going to open it up for people. If anybody has some questions here, if I can ask any, people can, good Lord. People should be able to unmute themselves. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them. If you need to leave, you can absolutely leave, because I'm going to stick on here as well because I got to make some dials. So I'm going to keep it open because I'm going to jump on the phones and keep dialing. But any and all questions, bring it on.
Grant, I have a question.
What's up, girl?
Hi.
Hey.
Hey. So, how do you use an objection if I had 2 of them yesterday that were for A leads, and
Right.
they said they weren't interested because it had taken so long for someone to get a hold of them.
Yeah.
And I tried to explain that, I don't remember what I did last week. So maybe you didn't remember like a funky number calling you, or you didn't call them back, or you didn't answer. And they just kept going on and on. Like, do you just,
Yeah.
if they do you just call it a day?
No, what I say, it's pretty simple. I'll say, Amy, that's exactly why I'm calling. I'm the field underwriter here. I wanted to make sure that we could help you. With the coronavirus and everything, we've been very backed up in helping families, but I wanted to make sure I could help you personally. You filled this form and sent it back into the office. Did you get coverage yet?
Okay.
And then, so you didn't get coverage. Okay. So I'm looking at the form right now, Amy. I've got your age that you gave me. Here is this. Is that still correct? Perfect. The mortgage when you sent it in was 285. Did you see what I did?
Yeah.
I addressed it.
And
but
then
I
you went right back
pivoted
in.
and then went right back in and started verifying the information that they sent in to me. I mean,
Okay.
in that case, I mean, I apologized to people. I said, I'm sorry. You know, that's
Right.
I'm giving you a call. But I'm not going to sit there and mess around. I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to do exactly. And I've had to do that before. Ain't a big deal.
Okay.
I mean, if they're serious, I mean, you just bring it back to, did they get coverage? Nope. Okay, cool. Back into the script. Like, I'm here to help. You know, if you stay there too long, you're going to get caught there.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Just keep moving it along. Yes.
Hey, what you doing?
Hey, I'm just hanging out.
Yeah, right. No, I wanted you to just speak on with the in-home, because you did such a good job of simplifying, you know, that whole process and bringing it back to the real system. My question is, can you speak on the importance of sequentially sticking from emotion, then getting to numbers, and how important it is to wait as long as possible to show numbers?
Yeah. So when you show numbers, so all the way, if you do your job right, all the way up until that moment, you're their friend. You're a consultant, you've built rapport with them. You've been making deposits into the relational equity bank. The moment you put money on the table, you're making a withdrawal. You're taking a withdrawal out. You have to have enough stuff in the relational equity bank to be able to do that withdrawal. Because if I talk to you for 2 minutes and then just move you speed through as fast as possible, you're just going to feel like I'm trying to sell you something. It's going to feel forced. When you wait and you follow that process, I have this thing down to a science. I spend 10 to 15 minutes building rapport before I ever share my screen. Because I want to talk to you. I want you to see me. I want you to take a pause. It's whiplash. Remember, whatever they were doing, they stopped to do this. So we're going to get settled in. I'm going to wait till we're settled. And then I'm going to transition into this, right? Now, when I explain my role and purpose, I also tell them and put the expectation out there. Okay, Jordan, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to verify the information you gave me, just make sure I'm serving you the best. Then we're going to talk a little bit about mortgage protection and answer any questions. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you those options. And now here's the thing, Jordan, when I show those to you, I need you to be honest with me. Unfortunately, I can't, I'm not clairvoyant. And so I need you to just communicate with me because I don't know what I don't know. And at the end of the day, I want to make sure that we can do this. Find the middle ground between the need and the budget. Because if you don't need it, it's no good. If it's too expensive, you're going to cancel it in 30 days anyway, and it's not going to be good for anybody. So I want to find that middle ground. And if we can, then what we're going to do is fill out the application. It takes about 5 minutes. Send it into the carrier. It's going to take them about 72 hours to about 5 business days right now to get it approved and issued. No paramedical exam, no blood work, no urine. And then once it's issued is when they'll draft that first premium. Does that sound good? So I say that's during that role and purpose slide to help kind of set me up to soften that blow. But I'm going to take my time and make sure that we have the why and make sure, but they also know it's coming. I'm also building more rapport because if you remember when you went to a doctor as a kid, it was scary. But if the doctor laid out what he was going to do and then actually followed each step, it wasn't so scary anymore. And especially if he explained it. Now, if the doctor would just come in and out, in and out, in and out, and not explain anything what's going to happen, and the next thing you know, when you do a throat swab for strep throat, you're like dying. Maybe that was just me. That was terrifying of the doctor. And so it's the same thing here. We lay out the expectations, and then we follow it to a T. That way they know this is coming. And then when you get there, you reiterate, I want to help us find a need to make sure that Jordan, if you passed away, Jared's taken care of, and that him and those dogs don't lose the home. And so if we can find something to do that and it fits the budget, then that's what we'll do, okay? So can you just promise to communicate with me? And then I'll go, pinky promise. And then we'll go, and then I'll share the options. And then bring it back to how those do the why. And if you do that, it helps soften that blow. But if you try to rush it, you're not going to have any setup time. You're in control. They aren't. So I hope that answered that question.
Hey, Grant.
Hi, how are you?
Hey. Good, how are you?
I'm living the dream.
That's it. So going back to talking about building a successful agency. So as a comparison, on average, what's the time span to build an agency if you don't spend the $1,000 a month in recruiting, or the budget's much less?
Never. I'm just being honest with you. You can negotiate with the process, and you're going to negotiate with the results, right? I didn't come up with the $1,000 thing. I didn't come up with that. I got that from a buddy of mine named Jacob Pogue, who runs an $18 million agency and has popped off more agency owners than I can count in less than a year. And they do it in less than a year. And they do it because they do $1,000 a month, and they follow that to a T. There's actually an entire PowerPoint presentation that shows how it works when you start to get the return and all of that. It's really incredible. What I would say is if you're not going to do the cold market piece to that degree, then you're going to have to put in a lot more time investment on the warm market on the other side to make sure that you have 20 good interviews. And an interview isn't like a brief conversation. It is, you walk through the whole thing. It's pre-screened. They watch the video. They're interested. And so it's going to take you a lot more time on the other end of it, right? If you don't have cold market, because you're having to go out there and sift through to find people who want to talk to you, as opposed to people who have applied and then are pre-screened and then booked into your calendar. You know what I mean? So like when I talk to somebody, it's cold market, they've already been pre-screened. They filled out an intake questionnaire form. They watched 2 videos, and now they're talking to me. So we've worked all the way through a process. I know the 2 reasons why you think you're a good fit for Symmetry. I know the 2 reasons why you think Symmetry is a good fit for you. I know how much money you make. I know how soon you want to get started. I know if you want to do part-time, full-time, or build a business. I know where you live. I know what the greatest failure in your past job was. I know what you're excited about. I know where you want to do in 10 years. I've seen your resume. And I already know what questions that you're going to ask. And that's when I talk to you. So it's just a different process. So I can go in and have 10 interviews in a day at that caliber. If you're not going to do that, you got to do, it's a lead up time. You know what I mean? And so for warm market, you would need to do, so to give you the flip side, to give you the actual tangible strategy, is you need to talk to 100 people a week, warm market.
I guess I'm just thinking in my mind that instead of starting with $1,000 a month budget, I may have to start out with something a lot less.
You want to work up to, you would want to work up to the 1,000.
Right.
You don't have to
I was just kind of curious on the time span, you know.
Well, it's all to scale for the most part. You know what I mean? I'd say if you want to hit key leader in the next 6 to 10 months, $500 a month will do it. That's what I found. If you want to hit key leader, $500 a month will get you there in the next 6 to 10 months. If you want to hit team leader, which is the level below key leader, in the next 6 to 10 months, $250. If you want to create an agency owner, what I found is that you need to be $18.95 a month. If you want to create an agency owner.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Total agency investment I found is between $3,000 to $5,000. We'll pop off a key leader and an agency owner within the next 6 to 10 months.
Hey, good morning, Grant. This is Val.
Hey, Val.
How you doing, bud?
Hey.
Killing it, as always, my friend.
Thanks, brother.
Awesome. Hey, I have a question on cold market recruiting, just coattailing on the previous question. So I'm a new agent. I want to get started in cold market recruiting right away. Yep. Budget's strictly limited. So obviously I'm working my warm market and starting in the cold market recruiting. how do I get started? Like, what would you recommend as someone with a very strictly limited budget, starting somewhere? What's that tipping off point for a new agent with that situation?
Yeah, so I would say, so it's all perspective, right? So average application advance is $525 now. That's an average application advance. So if you have, if somebody wants to do this, one of the ways I always looked at it is I cordoned off my applications. So the average advance for a new agent right now is $525. We know that you need to sit with 15 families if you're full-time, 9 if you're part-time. And so in a week, the first week of every month is dedicated solely to expenses for me. So all of the applications I write the first week of the month go to all of my business expenses. And I'm covered. And so I strategically put those where they need to be. I need 2 apps. Well, I'm at a different contract level, but pretty much let's say I need 2 apps a week to cover, we'll just say lead cost to make sure I'm green. It takes 2 apps to do that. And then 1 app is going to be my recruiting. If I was a new agent, and we got $500 a month in recruiting, and 1 app's going to do that. So 3 applications is going to set you up with your leads for this week and next week and a $500 recruiting budget. So I think that's what, like, for me, it's all perspective. So if there's a new agent who says, I really want to build, then it's like, all right, let's put some perspective behind this, because you can write 3 apps and get your lead investment for this week and next week taken care of, and cover a $500 lead investment, which is going to get you to KL in the next 6 to 10 months. So that's, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's all just trying to like reverse engineer it. The same thing with leads. It's the same thing with leads. I would say if you're a new agent and you want to get into cold market, the minimum I would go is 250. That's the minimum, because after that, it's going to be really difficult because of how many job slots you can get. So with ZipRecruiter, so after $250, because here's the deal. If you have a very limited budget, you're not going to be able to have a recruiter. So you're not going to be able to pay a recruiter who's calling and pre-screening. You're going to have to do it for yourself. So you're going to have to call, book your own appointments, run 15 appointments, then jump back on the phone, call and pre-screen 20 interviews and book 20 interviews. If you're doing all of that by yourself and you don't have somebody to help you, if you pass the $250 deal, it's gonna be harder. It's gonna take a lot of hours if you tried to do that. So that's my thing. I would say minimum 250. I also would be nervous, but I would immediately increase it. You know what I mean? Like, as soon as you start getting cash flow glow and get those applications in, just make a goal and say, okay, after I get X amount of issue paid business, then we're bumping it up. And then again, we're bumping it up. And have that process in place. And the best way to do that is call your key leader agency owner to talk about how to put a strategy to start cold market recruiting.
Awesome. Thanks, Grant.
Is that helpful?
Extremely.
Cool. Any other questions?
Hi, Grant. I have a question for you.
Hi, Connor.
My name's Connor. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, man.
So my question is, what was that?
Who are you direct to?
Oh, I'm direct to Ryan. Sorry, I'm blanking. I'm working with Jordan right now. So
awesome.
She's been mentoring me.
I love it.
Amazing. Yeah, definitely. So my question has to do with the video. The video, quite honestly, comes across as like multi-level marketing to some people. I mean, not to all people, but maybe it's more prevalent in my area. But I just know personally, when I saw that video, I was like, red flags started popping up, and I was like, I'm not going to do this. And then it took some conversations with Ryan Barton, who recruited me, to kind of see that this is like a serious business, and that there's a lot of opportunities here. But I want to know how to address that video with people who might be skeptical because of the video. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I haven't had an issue with it. I would say, I'm trying to think the best way. Like, are you asking how, if people are skeptical of the business, or skeptical of if it's of the video, or if the business is an MLM? What specifically?
The video, because it sounded like too good to be true in my yeah. And I want to know how, when I encounter this again, I want to know how I am going to address it, you know, as far as like how the organization is structured, and as far as the concern maybe that they're going to be making other people money, but you know, they're not.
So I don't, well, there's a couple of things. One, I don't make a dime until you make $1. The insurance carrier doesn't pay me anything of your money. They pay me my own money. So so how you get paid when you recruit somebody is the carrier, and this is the insurance world across the board. This is everywhere. The insurance carrier is going to pay me the difference between my earned commission level and your earned commission level. Meaning that I've earned a 95% contract, you've earned a 70% contract. So if I've hired you, the insurance carrier is going to pay me the difference, which is 25%, because I recruited you, trained you, developed you, and increased their distribution. Now, the other side of that is you could also pass me. Like if you go out there and you sell enough, and if I'm not doing my thing anymore, you can earn a contract level higher than me, and then I no longer have an override. Why? Because I didn't earn it. You know what I mean? So it's so that's one piece there, I would say. The other thing is I tell people all the time, like, you don't have to recruit if you don't want to. If you want to just be the best badass insurance sales agent ever, go for it. You don't have to recruit.
I do want to.
You know what I mean? So it's like,
Absolutely.
And we have a track for that. So it's kind of and that's just kind of what I go back to, is you don't have to, but if you want to build an agency, just like State Farm, Farm Bureau, you can. And that's how it lays out the compensation. I don't know. I don't get the question very much. I'm sorry. I can help better.
I think I can help out with this because I've actually heard that before myself. And one of the biggest things that you can address is that MLMs don't require you to have some type of insurance federal license. And then that's it. You're done. You know what I mean? It's not MLM anymore if, you have to be certified to do what you do.
Right.
So that separates the professionalism. It separates the entire industry from an MLM, period, end of story. So that's what we've encountered, that whole, like, is it a pyramid scheme stuff? You know what I mean?
It's a highly regulated industry. You have to do continuing education. You get professional liability, errors and omissions insurance. It's intense.
Number online because you are state approved to do what you do. The MLMs are not like that. So I think I would just, if somebody is iffy about it, they're normally not really into the job market itself. You know what I mean? So I would just move on from that person and then try to find somebody who's actually open to an opportunity that can help them out dramatically. It's not our job to sell this opportunity to anybody or convince them that it's a legal thing. But we all have licenses to do legal work. So that would be just to help you out with the question there, Grant. But I actually had a question in regards to, can you kind of lean into the importance of the corporate overview tomorrow?
Absolutely. So the corporate overview, which takes our entire business, breaks it down into the specifics of how you get paid, when you get paid, what that looks like, all of the bonus programs that we have, as well as the history of the company, capacity of future markets, is literally tomorrow. And so what's going to happen is, and then after that, we're going to have several agents who are super successful here be able to talk about different key things about what we do. And so it's one of the best things that you can be on, and that you can actually plug people into. Connor, I'd say for you, buddy, if you've got people that you're trying to recruit, get them there to that, because now it's real people who are doing this. That was the big reason that I came here. And I had a really good job. I was okay. And I quit that and came here because it was the people, and I could see that real people were doing this thing. And I could work with them, you know, and good people attract good people. So it's super important because it's going to help you fill up your bucket, but also it's going to really help utilize the system from a recruiting standpoint and have other people who are really successful here explain how this business works and what we do and what it takes to be successful here. It's not easy. It's hard. It's hard. It just is. Simple, but not easy. And so you'll be able to really plug people into some people who are doing really special things here. So they're huge. Make sure you're on there. Get with your, should be on GroupMe. And you can also get with your key leader, agency owner, to be able to help you know exactly where the link is for that. 7 p.m. tomorrow evening, Eastern Standard Time. Any other questions?
Hey, Grant. Robert Bowles here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Listen, I want to say thank you very much for what you had to say about the lead investment and the difference in the time commitment for each type of lead. That helps me out a lot. I appreciate it.
I'm glad, brother.
The second thing I wanted to ask you about, on the section of your presentation where you talked about in the home, there were some dollar amounts on the screen, for example, $35 a month, so on and so forth. Those numbers are coming from where? And I do understand that we were talking term commission, but is that something that's pre-worked worked out in advance on our part, or can you explain how those numbers came about?
Which numbers? The numbers you get paid, or the numbers for the policies for the client?
For the policies for the client.
Yeah. So you have a quoting engine. And so really what you're able to do is, if they're going to qualify, right? So they're either going to be term or they're going to be whole life, and you find what they qualify for, what that product is, and then you put in their age and their gender and specifically which variation of that product, and it's going to spit out the price for it. Okay. So you can use, actually, if you go to Virtual Mentor, let's see.
And I'm familiar with Virtual Mentor and how that works, but in the presentation, so that was more.
That was an actual person's presentation. That was somebody's actual PDF. That's where those numbers came from. That was an actual presentation I had created for a client based off the client.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Yeah. Those aren't the standard. Yeah, that was an actual presentation that I got. I took it and threw it in.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it was a young kid. He was like 22, 23.
Okay.
That's why it was so cheap.
If you don't mind, I'm going to go back to the lead investment just one time. In the example that you gave us and I wrote down, on the 5As you had 24A 40, 3A 60, and then it increased quantity-wise as you went down to the 25-cent leads. Mm-hmm. So what would you say time-wise it would take to get through all of those?
Yeah, so I'll break it down. So the average agent makes $35 an hour. Okay. Mm-hmm. The average lead has 2 phone numbers on it.
Okay.
So if you take 35 and divide it by 2, 2 phone numbers, and you triple dial, so you're pretty much on average going to be able to get through and call between 15 to 17 leads in an hour. And that doesn't, and it can even be as low as 12 leads in an hour, based on when they pick up and things like that, right? And what times are you dialing? Are you having a high contact to dial ratio? But for the most part, you're going to sit right around 15 to 17 leads in an hour. That's a super important. Now, that's not resolved leads. That means that I was able to work through and call all of them, resolve some, not resolve others. And so really what you're looking at is if you've got, it's going to take, I think my average is 7 dials or 7 dials on a lead, to be able to get in touch with you. That's like my average. And so it takes me 7 times of calling you to get in touch with you. And so you can really kind of break that number down. What I would say though, like that's the nitty gritty of it. I'm a numbers nerd. What I would say from a basic standpoint, it's going to take you 8 hours of dialing to resolve 20 leads. Okay. So then you just add on to that. So if you've got 40 leads, you're looking at 16 hours of dialing. If you've got 60 leads, you're looking at 24 hours of dialing. Gotcha. You know, if you've got, 80, you're looking at 32 hours of dialing, right? And so it's just, for the most part, what I've found is it's 8 hours. Now, the power dialer is faster. It does speed that up. The Ninja dialer does make that faster for you, but for the most part, that's what I'd say, 8 hours per every 20 leads to get a 90 to 95% resolve ratio.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any other questions? Going once. Sharon, I see your chat question. Are you still on here? Because I'll answer it if you're still on here. I don't see you still on. That's okay. I'll have to shoot her a message later. So, all right, guys. Well, that is it for the day. This was a fun one. This was good. I enjoyed it. This is my favorite call. I love helping new agents get started. It's probably one of the most exciting things your first year. It's going to be hard, but it's worth it. And so you guys are all in such a cool position to be able to get started and get rocking, get rolling. The best thing I can tell you, call your upline, blow your upline's phone up, be the one who's calling them the most, asking questions. Statements show problems, questions show growth. Ask the most questions, call the most times, make the most dials, sit with the most families, and how your world can be transformed in 90 days would be insane. It gets really special really quick when you start being consistent and persistent. I hope this was helpful for all of you guys. I'm super excited to see what you guys do, and let's kick some tail. I'm going to end this one